So you want to write a memoir? I personally think that's fabulous. I've written one myself. But do you know there are different types of memoir? So in this video, I'm going to help you choose the memoir that's right for you. We often think a memoir is really an autobiography, a chronological account of our life. It's not. Memoir is so creative. It's a form of creative nonfiction, and it lends itself to so many varieties. As many as there are people, there are ways to write a memoir. And that's what I love about memoir. It's so creative, and it's a creative nonfiction. You can truly bring your personality and your story to the type of memoir that you write. But your type of memoir must match with the content of your memoir and the theme of your memoir. And it's not a tight box that you either have this choice or you have that choice. We'll look at that. But there must not be a disconnect. Let's get started at looking at the memoirs I have here that can help you choose the memoir you want to write. So for example, a lot of people will want to write a childhood memoir, and here I have Under Magnolia by Frances Mays. Now this one I haven't read, but it's a childhood memoir of her growing up in the deep south before she moved to Italy, because you may know her more famously for her memoir or her story about moving to Italy called Under the Tuscan Sun. So childhood family memoirs are really, I would say, the second most popular from the personal memoir. One I have read, which I do recommend, is this one by Sea Sunrise person called North of Normal. So if I pronounce some people's names wrong, please excuse me. So this is North of Normal, and this is really a childhood memoir, a family memoir with a lot of personal memoir detail and heartache and difficulty that is a really good read. And so this is an example of a childhood family personal memoir. She then did go on to write a second memoir, so that's also another topic. You may be wondering, how many memoirs can I write? Well, you can write as many as you like. This one she wrote called Nearly Normal, and this one follows on from her first one about her struggles because of her childhood later in life. I've yet to read it, but I will, because I know I really enjoyed the first one. So personal memoir, childhood family memoir, and another really popular form of memoir is travel memoir or lifestyle memoir. I know I really am drawn to that one. I read a lot of travel lifestyle memoirs. And so you could write, like I said, Frances May wrote about moving to Italy in her book Under the Tuscan Sun. So you could write one in that vein. Perhaps you moved somewhere, you're living somewhere else, and you want to write a light-hearted, anecdotal story about your life. They don't have to be always so pain-filled and difficult. That isn't always the case for a memoir. It can obviously be. I know that for myself. But you can write light-hearted, entertaining, fun-filled memoirs, and they are as popular as the difficult ones. Another memoir, travel lifestyle memoir, that's really popular and hit the charts was Peter Mail's A Year in Provence, and this is a follow-up memoir of his called Toujours Provence. So again, showing you can write more than one memoir, and we'll talk more about that in another video, in knowing where to split your memoir so that you can have 1, 2, or 3 memoirs. Can you have different topics in memoirs? There's so much to talk about that. But sticking to this one, this is a lifestyle travel memoir that was really popular, light-hearted again, anecdotal, fun to read. One you may not know of is Elizabeth Bard's Picnic in Provence, again a subsequent memoir to her first memoir called Lunch in Paris. So in Lunch in Paris, she writes about meeting her husband and life in Paris, and now they have a child and they've moved to Provence. As I said, this is a style of memoir I really enjoy. And so pay attention to the type of memoir you like to read. Spend some time thinking about memoirs you like to read that may actually influence this type of memoir you're going to write. Now, another memoir that's also a lifestyle travel memoir I highly recommend, which is really good, is How to Eat a Small Country, A Family's Pursuit of Happiness One Meal at a Time, and this one is by Amy Finley. This one is a really interesting memoir because It illustrates how you can bring different themes into a memoir, but you still need to have one main theme. So in this one, it's a lifestyle travel memoir, but she certainly brings in family and marital struggles as well in her memoir. So that's something you can consider too. It doesn't just have to be difficult personal insight. It can be a little bit of a blend, but you do have to know which is your prime theme and your prime type of memoir. You can't blend them haphazardly. All right, we'll talk more about that, but there's one for you to consider if you're looking for a travel lifestyle memoir. Now this one is really intriguing. We're getting a little bit more into a different avenue of memoir, but you could write a semi-autobiographical memoir. This one is from James Herriot's collection. This one in particular is his #2 memoir, All Things Bright and Beautiful, which followed on from All Creatures Great and Small. So he writes his own life story, but he writes it in such a way that he actually takes on other personas. So it's semi-autobiographical. It's not personally him, that's not even his name, James Herriot, he has another name. The people he refers to have different names, but a lot of the stories that he tells are his own true stories. And the people really exist, but they have different names. And he's perhaps changed a number of things, but it's still an autobiographical story, and it's semi because of the changes. And there's a lot we can talk about in memoir with regard to how much do you tell and how much do you tell of the story and how much do you change. So if you're wanting to know more about writing memoir, do click on the subscribe button and the notification bell, because we'll be talking all about those things. And then I just have a few more to share with you. So these two are really wonderful memoirs. The more famous one is Tuesdays with Morrie. You can write a memoir where you're telling your story directly related to somebody else and how much they have influenced you in your life. And it's really just about that area of your life. It's not your whole life. So this is Tuesdays with Morrie by Mitch Albom, a very popular, successful memoir. So these two are I'm going to talk about now. Then we'll wrap up with personal memoir, which is perhaps what a lot of people are also looking to write. So this one is Writing About Your Life. It's a memoir written by William Zinsner, very well known for writing and teaching how to write. This is his memoir, and he's written it in a how-to form. You can write a how-to memoir, how to do something, and use your own story to illustrate it, to bring it in. So he's written a book on writing about your life, how to write about your life. So if you're looking for a good book to get you started on how to write about your life, do get Writing About Your Life by William Zinsner. It's very helpful in helping you to understand elements of memoir writing and to understand that you could write your memoir as a how-to book. And there are a lot of ways you could do that. So one that I find as a how-to memoir is actually Ernest Hemingway's A Movable Feast. It's a how-to memoir in how to live the writing life, how to embrace writing as a form of how to live your life, which is a theme we talk about on this channel. And it's a memoir of his life in Paris in the 1920s. But it's really about the writing life and the practice of writing. He touches on it, but it's not that much about his marriage and his child and things like that. It's really about that time in his life, so a certain number of years in his life, and the writing life. I have another video where I give a review on this memoir. Do listen to that one if you're interested in it, and also if you're interested in the writing life, which we will talk more about because I love it. Okay, so last topic. Personal memoirs. So you can certainly write grief memoir, heart difficult, soul-searching memoirs. So there's one called Once Upon a Farm, which is a grief memoir as well as a family memoir about Rory Feek. His wife dies, he's left widowed with his young daughter, and it's his story of his marriage, his grief, his family. I have mine, which I wrote, which is called When God Says No. So this is my memoir of a spiritual quest as I've gone through searching after the death of my mother. And it's a family memoir, but it's primarily a grief memoir. And it's also a personal narrative, which we'll talk about in another video. So don't forget to click on that subscribe button so that we can learn all these things of the different types and forms of memoir that there are. Okay, so this is When God Says No, very distinctly a grief memoir. And then another grief memoir. I haven't read it, it's on my list, I will be reading it. It's called My Part-Time Paris Life, a grief memoir by Lisa Anselmo, where she goes to Paris to reconstruct her life again after the death of her mother. The death of a loved one in our life is really pivotal. And so writing is a wonderful way to explore our feelings, to explore our grief, to find a way to express it. And I will do a video completely on grief memoirs. So this is My Part-Time Paris Life, how running away brought me home. I think it's going to be difficult, but I think it's going to be a good read as well, a more light-hearted read. I don't know. That's what the picture tells me. That's what the story tells me. We'll soon find out. I'll let you know. I'll possibly do a review on it. Then there are also what I'm assuming are really difficult childhood memoirs, personal childhood trauma memoirs. So we have How Dare the Sun Rise. I haven't read it. It's on my list to read. I will be reading it. It's by Sandra, and I don't even dare pronounce her last name because I'm not going to get it right. So this is a childhood trauma memoir, Memoirs of a War Child. I'll leave that one there and do a review on that one for you. And then the last one I have for you is Lit by Mary Karr. Now, Mary Karr is perhaps being recognized as the queen of memoir. She teaches memoir, she has a book on how to write memoir, she's written 3 memoirs. And so this is, I'm just busy reading it, where she's writing about her life in her early 20s and meeting her husband and developing her alcohol abuse problem as an alcoholic. So I'm just into it. It is a personal memoir, there is difficulty in it. I'm enjoying it. It's a different writing style from what I'm used to, and there we'll talk more about writing styles and the different types of writing styles you can have. Don't be intimidated because you are a bit nervous about whether you're a good writer. That's not the point, and that's not the point right now. It's obviously a bonus if you are very good at writing, but don't let that put you off writing your memoir. I'll discuss that and why I believe that in another video. So that's the wrap up on different types of memoir that you can choose. I would say your homework, if you're looking for a takeaway from this video, is to sit down and jot down 10 memoirs at least 10 memoirs that you've read, what you liked about them, and what type of memoir were they? Were they a war child memoir? Were they a personal grief memoir? Was it actually a how-to memoir? Was it a childhood memoir? Was it a travel, light-hearted lifestyle memoir? And then think about your story. Which of all those examples do you think your story fits best into? What are the themes and topics of your story? So that's your homework for today. Don't forget to subscribe, click that notification bell. I'm looking forward to getting to know you and to help you to write your story.